Hello and welcome to the Owl's Nest. I hope you guys all had a good week and are enjoying your Friday and enjoy your weekend. And today we're going to be doing a team preview of the Atlanta Reign. So the Reign finished last year pretty hot, overall finishing 6th in the regular season and 5th and 6th in the playoffs after losing to Hangzhou in the losers bracket. And if we look at changes in the roster for the Atlanta Reign, I think some of the more noticeable ones is that Funny Astro, who was a two-way player, is now full-time for the Philadelphia Fusion. Then Daco, who was a real stud at the start of the season and then kind of had almost a mentality issue, has left the team, and now they're going to be sticking with FRD and some new additions. And then N-Layer has decided to retire. He was one of the Russian hit scan specialists that they had on the team, and so he will not be joining them next year. But if we go into additions, so for off-tank, they picked up Hawk, and Hawk is joining the team from the Atlanta Reign Academy, and I think he'll be great. He had a lot of success there, and the Reign Academy did extremely well last contender season, so I think that'll overall be a good pickup for the Reign, especially to fill up the hole that Daco will leave and that FRD can't fill. I still think FRD is a good off-tank, by the way. I just think that having Hawk there will have some more flexibility for them, which will be nice. Then we have Edison, and Edison is joining from GC Busan, and there's a lot of hype on this guy, and he is kind of a jack-of-all-trades DPS player, and the idea is that he'll probably play mostly alongside Erster, and considering how Erster finished last season at the start of the 2-2-2 meta, I think this is probably a really good pickup for Atlanta, and a lot of people are kind of expecting this guy to maybe get Rookie of the Year or just be one of the standout DPS players next year, and I kind of see it. I think that he should be pretty good, especially as long as Erster can maintain how he was playing. I think they'll be a great pair together. And they also picked up Sharp from Team Envious, and I think Sharp is another great player. I don't think he's as strong as Edison, but I think having that flexibility there, and if you look at the DPS line for the Reign of Erster, Edison, Baby Bay, and Sharp, that's pretty solid, and I think that there will be a lot of success potentially for the Reign if everything goes right. If I had to point out maybe a concern I have for the team, I would maybe want to see one more support player. I think Masa and Dogman is a pretty good backline, but I just think you want maybe a little bit more flexibility in case Dogman or Masa just finds a hero that they can't really play in the meta as well. I know Dogman is a very emotional player, so sometimes those are a little rough to have on the roster, and if that's your only option and something goes wrong, say a suspension, I think that could be a huge issue for the Reign. I don't think Dogman's going to cause too much trouble, but just having like one more support player might be a really good move for this team. But what do you guys think? Am I completely missing an issue, or do you guys think that something else needs to be addressed? I also don't think Pokepo is maybe the best main tank, but main tanks are so hard to come by, especially strong ones in the Overwatch League, that I think Pokepo will definitely be serviceable. So what do you guys think? Alright, so now let's go ahead and go into their schedule breakdown. Alright, so now we have the schedule for the Atlanta Reign for the 2020 season, and our first matchup for them is going to be against the Toronto Defiant, and I think they'll win that one. I think this will be close. I definitely like both teams, but I think just Atlanta, considering how hot they finished last year and the additions of Edison, Hawk, Gator, I think all of them are going to be great. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and have them winning this one. Next up is going to be the Eternal, and I think they'll win this one as well. I just think that the Eternal is kind of in a rebuilding year. I think there's a lot to be excited for if you're an Eternal fan. I just don't know if it's going to pan out this year. And then we have the Uprising, and I think they'll win this one as well. Next up is going to be a fun one against the NYXL. So the two times they played last year in Stage 2, Atlanta upset them both times. And Stage 2 for Atlanta last year was not a great year for them. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the Reign. I think that NYXL is probably the stronger team on paper. However, I'm just going to go with the track record against them. And though NYXL beat Atlanta in the playoffs, I don't know if that's enough for me. Both teams have definitely improved, so that'll be a great matchup when it happens, though. Next up is going to be the London Spitfire, and I think that'll be a win as well. I think that London is one of maybe the sleeper teams next year. I think they have a lot of potential with their lineup. I just don't know if they're going to be as strong as they were with, say, Prophet, Gesture, and Badoshan. So I'm going to go ahead and give the win to the Reign there. Next up is going to be the Florida Mayhem, and I'm going to say that they win this one as well. So Florida, I think a lot of people are almost overestimating the improvements that Florida has made. I kind of thought they'd be a little bit better. There were rumors that they were adopting all of Runaway, and they only took a few players and a few coaches from them. So I'm overall leaning that they'll kind of have another disappointing year, and so I'm going to give the Reign this win. Next up is the Fusion, and this will be a fun one. I think they're going to lose it. And it's definitely going to be a close matchup, and I would say if they play again, I'd probably have it go the other way. But I just think that the Fusion look really good next year, and I think that the additions they've made might catch the Reign off guard. And I think the only weak spot for the Fusion is probably main tank. Whereas Atlanta, I think they definitely have some star players, but I don't know if they're as fully maxed out as it feels like the Fusion are. I don't know. That might just be me. Next up is going to be the NYXL, and I'm going to say that they lose this one. So I have them winning the one prior, but I feel like since they're both such great teams, I feel like I need to split this. And so I'm going to have them losing to the NYXL. But then I have them beating Paris again for the same reasons as last time, and then I have them beating Boston for the same reasons as last time. Next up is going to be Toronto. I'm going to go ahead and give this one to... I'm going to give this one to the Reign. I think that'll be another close one, but I think I just have the Reign there overall. Then we have the Spitfire again. I think that'll be another win. And then the Justice, that should be a win. I think the Justice have improved a little bit, and I think Corey's looking really strong there, but I'm just still concerned about that team. And then we have the Outlaws. They'll beat the Outlaws. Ooh, the Chengdu Hunters, my favorite. I think they'll beat the Hunters. I think the Hunters might have a worse year this year than they had last year, just because the meta is a little bit more up in the air now, and playing counter goats isn't going to be as shocking to other teams. And then we have Hangzhou. I'll say they beat Hangzhou. I think Hangzhou, and especially because they just signed a few more players, are going to keep a lot of the momentum they already had going into last season, and I think I'm just going to overall give them the win there. Next up is going to be the Guangzhou Charge, and I'm going to say they actually lose this one. I think this will be a close one, but I think the Charge are another one of these sleeper teams, and I think a lot of teams are going to get caught off guard by them, and I think the Reign might be one of them. Next up is going to be the Shanghai Dragons. I'm going to say they lose this one too. I think Shanghai could very quietly be a great team next year, and if they can just figure out their tank line, I think they can probably do really well. Then we have the Seoul Dynasty. Ooh, that's another close one. I'm going to say they lose this one too. That's another toss-up though, especially because they're playing that in Atlanta. I think both teams have their weaknesses, but I think I'm going to give the edge to the Seoul Dynasty there. Then we have the Washington Justice, and I think that'll be a win. And then we have the Fusion again, and I'm going to say that they win this. For the same reasons as I mentioned for the previous Fusion. I think they're both pretty stacked teams. I just think that it doesn't really... They're so even that I feel like you kind of have to split those, and those are so up in the air. And I mean, none of this really means anything. It's all pretty speculative, but yeah, I'm gonna go win there. Then we have the Vancouver Titans, and I'm gonna say that they beat the Titans. I think the weaknesses the Titans have going into next year could affect them a little bit, and I don't think Vancouver is a weak enough team to lose to some of the lesser teams, but I think teams that similar or slightly below their skill level, they might lose to. So I think Atlanta will be one of them. Then Dallas, I think they'll beat Dallas, I think Atlanta will beat Dallas. And then the Valiant, I think the Reign will beat the Valiant as well. The Shock, that'll be a fun one. I'm going to go ahead and give that one to the Shock, though. I just don't know who I see the Shock losing to right now. And that's going to make my breakdown of them pretty interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and say they lose that. And then they have the Gladiators. I think they will beat the Gladiators. That'll be another toss-up, but I just think the Reign look a little bit stronger than the Gladiators right now. Then we have the Florida Mayhem. I'm going to say they beat the Mayhem. And then the last game against the Outlaws. I'm going to say they maybe lose this one. That could be kind of an upset pick, but I think the Outlaws might have more to play for at the end of the season, and that might overall cost them that match. So anyway, that's going to be the end of this schedule breakdown, so let's go ahead and finish this video up. Alright, so overall I have the Atlanta Reign finishing at 21-7, which I think is a definite improvement for them if you look at how they finished last year. I think it's maybe a little bit lower than other analysts are rating the Reign, and that's totally fine. I'm okay underselling the team a little bit. I definitely think there's a lot of potential. I just don't know if I completely see them being, say, as dominant as the Shock were last year. But I think that overall the Reign should have a really nice 2020 season and definitely will make their fans happy. But what do you guys think? Do you think I'm too high on the Reign, too low on the Reign? Let me know. And be sure to comment and let me know what team previews you guys want next. The season, I can't believe this, starts in about 2 weeks. So we got to get going on these team previews. So this will be fun. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll get more team previews up as the demand comes in. So thank you all so much for watching. And I hope you guys all have a great day.